You know, it was kind of one of those things you kind of watch with one eye open and the other closed as you were busy doing your other things or whatever. And, you know, I wish I'd paid a lot more attention back then, but it could be these Oslo Accords that were signed in '93 that could be confirmed later to settle the disruptions in the Middle East and settle over the ownership of Jerusalem and whether they could rebuild their temple or not, or it could be something altogether different. We could end up with another peace accord. I know I see Mount Sinai in the Bible codes all the time, and I still don't know what that is. I almost half expect some kind of peace accord to come out of Mount Sinai. And of course we know Mount Sinai is a desert, so are they going to meet in the desert? You know, you know, you never know. I see the term Mount Sinai all the time, and so that's a possibility, something to keep an eye on. Or you know, this whole Nasser thing, when the Antichrist comes, and he has a proclamation that he announces, has some kind of a treaty, a declaration that he enforces on the world or offers to the world. Either way, however they want to describe it, friendly or hostile, it will be implemented. So when he comes, there's going to be massive changes from the time he arrives. So that could be it. He could confirm the Oslo Accords, and you know, Israel and the Arabs could start implementing that peace treaty there. You know, there's plans to just blow up the Dome of the Rock. I had seen that for 2005. And the Jews can't afford to take the heat themselves to blow up that dome so they could rebuild Solomon's Temple. You know, a lot of people have totally disregarded the whole Daniel's passage as something that's happened in the past. And that's likely. That could be so. But the thing is, we know that the Illuminati very much want a Solomon's third temple built in Jerusalem. And so we know all of this warfare going on now is conditioning, and everything happening kind of works its way into the puzzle. It's all pieces of the puzzle to get what they want. And what they want, everybody thinks they want all the oil. Well, yeah, they want all the oil because they already have all the money in the world, and now they want to control all the oil and all the assets. But the biggest eye on the prize right now is they want Solomon's Temple in Jerusalem so that when their fake Lord comes, we know him as the Antichrist, so when he comes and declares he's God, he can sit in Solomon's Temple. And so this says, you know, if you look at what their plans are, it aligns up with what Daniel said. You can read Daniel chapters 9 and 11 about how the man of sin comes and he has a peace treaty. I think it's 9:27. And so it lines up, you know, with exactly what the Illuminati wants, is to have that temple over there. And so what's interesting is Eric John Phelps is one of the most well-known experts on the Vatican today. A lot of people respect him. Go to VaticanAssassins.org, and you can read his material on the Vatican and the Black Pope. I've learned a lot of stuff from Eric. I'll probably have him on the show. Let's go schedule one of these times to have him on the show and come on and talk about the Black Pope and the Vatican and the Jesuits, because we totally agree on the same things, and he's just much more of an expert on that area. But what he says is that, you know, the Pope is the Vicar of Christ. It's one of his titles, and we know Vicar in Latin is Latin for anti. And so he's just out there telling you, if it was in English, Antichrist, written, you know, on his little crowns he wears, instead of Vicar of Christ, it's Antichrist. And he wants to rule over the temple. And the Pope itself wants to own the city of Jerusalem. And what they had done was back after the Pope recognized Israel as a nation, the labor and like it Zionists who rule Israel, who are nothing but mere pawns and puppets of the Pope, because they're all controlled by the Black Pope, and the Black Pope runs the Council on Foreign Relations. And so what they did was they signed over the Temple Mount area to the Pope. And I don't think the Pope's position itself is the Antichrist position. It's the one behind him. It's the Black Pope who's been running everything behind the scenes all these years, runs the Edomite Jews, runs the Jesuits, runs the Illuminati, runs all these different New Age factions. I've been saying for years that it's the Draconians who are sitting at the Vatican, who are ruling the Vatican. The Draconians are Satan's branch, the dragons. And so it's this Black Pope position back there that's just been running everything. And we know the Black Pope is Count Hans van Kolvenbach, who is the current Black Pope today. And, so this could get interesting in the Middle East. All of this has been engineered in the Middle East between the Jews and the Arabs, all this fighting, so it can come to a head, so that the temple, the Dome of the Rock, can be destroyed. And, of course, they'll just blame it on the Americans. They'll blame it on us and create some kind of Arab jihad and hatred against us because, the Israelis can't afford to have it blamed on them. And so the only other thing that they can blame it on is to have an earthquake take it out. I had seen that in the codes. It said projectile or missile. And so it could be a missile that takes out the dome, or it could be an earthquake. That was also there. But either way, watch for the coming down of that Temple Mount. If the Illuminati, if this card is played out, where the Illuminati will have a third temple built in Jerusalem, Solomon's third temple. I know some people, back when I was doing this research, didn't really know if it was going to be David's tabernacle or Solomon's temple. But we know that, they've been building these walls for years, and they could have them put up and snapped in place and have a temple there in no time. They've already have everything prefabricated and ready to go. So that's what the Illuminati wants to do, and now that we know this information is coming out, that the Temple Mount was deeded to the Pope back in 93 by Shimon Peres and Yossi Belin. These men were used by the Illuminati, by the Black Pope, to have that mount deeded over to them. And so it really will become an international city. They've always wanted to make Jerusalem an international city. And, that's probably pretty much going to be the center of one world religion, where that comes from as well. I know a lot of prophecy gurus have stated that for years, that Jerusalem would be the home of one world religion. And so, it's going to be that, or it's going to, we know that the enforcements, the proclamation of one world religion that's going to be enforced will come down through legislation, which makes it a political agenda. And that's exactly what the false prophet has. When he comes, he has on two horns, second beast of Revelation 13, which signifies dual authority. And so he's going to have authority in both religious and the political realms. And he will be the one that enforces one world religion, that ends up enforcing worship of the Antichrist, worship of his image. And so it's all going to come down, and I don't know if it's going to come directly down from Jerusalem at that point. I mean, they've been sitting on the deed for 12 years and nobody really knew about it, and they can sit on it longer while they get all this political legislation out of the way once the Antichrist does arrive. Some more interesting things going on this week. Interesting email from Sorcha Fa'al. I don't know how you say his last name. Caught this on one of the Yahoo News Group lists. Reporting that the secret police forces in America have already begun the long-expected roundup of dissenting citizens, and this first group of roundups is supposed to contain about 250,000 people for deportation to internal U.S. concentration camps. And so this former KGB, I'm assuming former KGB spy, the Russian spy, announcing that the United States has already begun dissident citizens rounding up of who they consider dissident citizens. And of course, we know that their idea of a terrorist is anybody who doesn't agree with their policies. So, as right now it's pretty lenient. It's only 250,000. So if they were going to go after every Democrat that didn't like them, those concentration camps will be filling up pretty quickly already. We know they're coming after the Christians, the big mouth, people that cause them the most problems. And it's gonna happen sooner or later. And, I haven't heard of anybody being picked up or anybody noticing anybody disappearing, and I haven't heard anything. So I don't know how much credibility that news group article had, but, things are going to happen slowly. I know there was roundups after 9/11 and a lot of government officials disappearing. And these were mid-level officials that were involved with the planning of 9/11 because they didn't want to have to risk, mid-level bureaucrats leaking information to the public or the press or anybody, or information getting out. And so what they normally do is they start going after their own first, because